Last year, one law school took in 120 transfer students and lost exactly one. Only one out of 120 in, one out. That is not a school in a transfer market. That's a school that is the transfer market. Now, take a look at this number. In 2011, 2,491 students transferred law schools in this country. Last year, that number was only 1,098. So the whole market got cut by more than half in about 10, 15 years. So the pool shrank. And there is one law school, Georgetown, that now takes roughly 120 of the 1,100 transfers left in America. So you do the math on that, that's nearly 11% of all law school transfer students in the entire country walking into one law school in Washington, D.C. And today I'm going to share with you why they're doing it, why the school on the other end of that trade is quietly bleeding students, and why the back door your friends keep whispering about, the whole just go somewhere cheap, crush 1L, and then transfer up plan, is a much worse bet this year than it was when people started giving that advice. Now, I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005. I read the 509 reports. Every law school files with the ABA, the ones almost nobody actually opens. And the transfer numbers in those filings tell a story that the admissions offices would rather you not put together. Now, let's start with what a transfer even is, because the whole thing hinges on one detail that most people miss. You apply to law school, you get in somewhere, you go. That first year, they call it 1L, first year of law school. Now, say you do really well that first year, like I'm talking about, you are in the top of your class. A bunch of higher ranked schools will let you apply to jump in as a second year. So you transfer up. You graduate with a fancier school's name on your diploma. That is the back door. It's the thing people talk about on Reddit forums like it's a cheat code. And it's real, it does still happen. But peak transfer year in my data was 2013. Over 2,500 students transferred. That was the era when everybody and their cousin was telling scared applicants the same thing. You can't get into a top school, no problem. Go somewhere easier, get great grades, transfer up later. The back door was wide open. Then it started closing. By 2016, it was down under 1,900. Then last year, only 1,098. So in the years since that advice became gospel, the actual door people are trying to walk through has shrunk by more than half. The advice got more popular right as the opportunity got smaller. That is the trap. The plan sounds better every year, but it works less often every year. Now, let me tell you why it shrank. The whole system has fewer people in it than they did at the peak. Law school enrollment contracted hard after the early 2010s, so there are simply fewer 1Ls sitting at lower schools waiting to jump. And the schools that used to quietly feed transfers up the ladder got tired of doing the recruiting and the teaching only to hand their best students to a competitor for free. So when a student transfers out, the school that lost them ate every cost and got nothing in return. And so the schools started fighting to keep the people they have. Fewer students in the school, and the ones there get held tighter. And so watch what Georgetown did. While the whole market was collapsing, Georgetown didn't shrink along with it. Go back to 2011, Georgetown took 71 transfers that year out of 2,491 nationally. That's under 3% of the market. It's big, but it's not crazy. Then last year, Georgetown took 120 out of a market of 1,098, again, that 11% figure. So the national pool got cut in half, and Georgetown's slice of it nearly quadrupled. Everybody else pulled back, and Georgetown hit the gas. So I want you to see how far ahead of the pack Georgetown really is, because this is where it stops being a normal story. The next biggest buyer in the country last year was Columbia, and Columbia took 50 transfers, NYU took 42, Berkeley took 44, Harvard took 37. These are the richest, most famous law schools in America, and Georgetown took more than double what any single one of them did. And this is not some fluke year. I went back through the filings. Georgetown took 122 transfers in 2013, same in 2023, same in 2024, 120 last year, all around that same figure. And so while the national market got cut in half around it, Georgetown ran the same 120 or so a year operation for over a decade. And that's not an accident, of course. It's part of their business model. And so why would they want so many transfers while everybody else is backing away from it? Every year, a law school has to report its numbers to the ABA. The most important ones that feed the rankings are the median LSAT score and median GPA of the incoming class. Median just means the middle number. So line up everybody who started, The person in the exact middle, that's your median. Schools live and die by it. A drop of 1 point in the median LSAT can cost a school their ranking spots, and that costs them applicants and money. But there's a loophole. The medians only count the first year entering class, the people who show up as brand new 1Ls. Transfers come in as second-year students. They started somewhere else. And so a transfer student's LSAT score never touches the school's reported median ever. And so a transfer comes in as a second year, so they finish out 2 full years at the new school. Georgetown can bring in 120 of them, collect 2 years of tuition from each, and not one of those 120 LSAT scores shows up in the number US News uses to rank the school. The transfers are invisible to the ranking. They are free tuition with no cost to the median. And so it's basically free money. Georgetown already built the building. They already hired the professors. They add 120 more paying students in year 2 who can't drag down their reported numbers no matter what they scored on the LSAT. That's about as clean as revenue gets in higher education. And this school is charging over $83,000 a year in tuition. 3 years of that is north of $250,000 before you've paid for a single month of rent in Washington, D.C. Multiply the sticker price by a chunk of 120 students who mostly aren't getting big scholarships, and you see why the transfer window is one of the most profitable things a top law school runs. And so, again, transfers don't count in the median, so top school can sell a lot of them with zero ranking costs. And for every student walking into Georgetown, that's somebody walking out of another school. So look at American University, also in Washington, D.C. Last year, American lost 51 students to transfer and took in 13. So net, they exported 38 students up the ladder. So American recruited those students. They gave a bunch of them scholarship money to show up. They taught them the hardest, most expensive year, the 1L year. And then their best performers, the top of the class, packed up and carried their tuition to higher ranked schools. American did the expensive part, the recruiting in the brutal first year. The schools above them collected the finished product, a student with a proven year of grades already on the transcript. And then there's GW, George Washington, sitting right in the middle of this. They took in 46 transfers, lost 33. So they're doing both at once. They're pulling up students from schools below them while they hemorrhage their own best 1Ls to the schools above them. They are a floor and a ceiling at the same time. Every summer, they poach 46 of somebody else's best and watch 33 of their own best walk out the door towards Georgetown and the rest of the top. That is the law school food chain. Nobody in the middle is safe. They're all somebody's feeder and somebody's target at the same time. And so money and talent flow upward every summer. A student grinds out a great first year at a lower school, transfers up, tuition follows them. The lower school ate the risk and the recruiting costs. The higher school takes no LSAT gamble at all because the kid already proved they could do the work. And none of this shows up in anybody's median. And so if you want to be in the best position to get into better law schools, to transfer up, of course, you've got to finish near the top of your class. And that's tough because everyone in the school is trying to do the exact same thing, and only a handful of seats open up above you. Ideally, you're not going to have to transfer law schools. Ideally, you get into a great law school from the beginning. Of course, the question is, how do you do that? Based on your LSAT score and your GPA. And of course, the thing is, your GPA is probably pretty fixed at this point in time. The LSAT score is still the big factor you can move the needle on. And so if you want my help getting the highest possible LSAT score, getting into more scholarship money, not needing to transfer because you already are up from the start, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now and later. You can book that free LSAT tutoring lesson with me personally at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG.